Hi YouTube, VidHead85 here, and I am going on the attack right now to all the supporters of voter ID, every single one. Simply, how can you claim that voter ID helps protect the integrity of elections by disenfranchising other voters? Now, in Ohio, the GOP Secretary of State is saying that he does not want to expand voting hours, or early voting hours, from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. in the Democratic-leaning districts. They want to keep it from 8 to 5, but extend it in Republican-leaning districts to 7 o'clock. How is this protecting the integrity of elections? I will simply say that the Young Turks had a video about this, and they had a Republican legislator saying that when the electorate is smaller, we win. When early voting was established, Republicans were all for it until the Democrats started using it to put the black and Latino voters using it to mobilize the black and Latino vote. Simply put, how is cutting back early voting hours going to protect the integrity of elections when it will in fact create back-to-back lines and such congestion where eventually, when they close, they'll have to turn voters away? Protecting the integrity of elections is not saying that simply, oh, do you want illegal aliens to vote, or undocumented persons to vote for a Hispanic candidate over a black one? That is a trick and a smokescreen, simply to say that if you are intent simply on making sure that undocumented persons do not vote, then there are ways of doing that. The voter purge in Florida does not do that to a legitimate end, and in fact, most of the voter suppression legislation that was passed in Florida has been blocked, such as the registration. And if you register people, you have to have 2 days to bring it to the DMV office, or the voter office, or basically the DMV, or any other kind, or Board of Elections, rather. You have 2 days to put it in, to bring it to the Board of Elections, or else you will get fined. And that is simply to keep the pressure on individuals who depend, or mainly the Democrats, who a lot of times depend on massive registrations in order to vote, or to send people out there to vote. Now, a lot of times, voter ID is simply out there to kill registration drives like that, where you can just be in a place and say, hey, are you registered to vote? Come register now. We'll put it in for you. You'll get your voter registration card in the mail. In New York, myself and my colleague, we registered 300 people to vote, or to switch. Basically, we registered 300 people to change their party. With the voter ID law, that would have been impossible, because those 300 people would have had to go down to the DMV or a voter ID office on a day when they were not working, when they had some time. If the hours aren't limited, and they would have to end up maybe taking a day off of work, and some of them don't even have, most of the time, a lot of voter ID issuing offices are not opened on weekends, and one of them is open the 5th Wednesday in Wisconsin, Sauk City, 5th Wednesday of the month, and there are only 4. So how is this protecting the integrity of elections? Not one single pro-voter ID individual has given me a reason that is not, 1, disenfranchisement, and 2, rigging of the electorate. Nobody has pointed that out. Nobody has put together a rational argument on, 1, how this protects the integrity of elections. Because if you protect the integrity of elections, it's simply meaning that those who are eligible to vote will remain eligible to vote, and kicking those who are ineligible off. But voter ID does nothing. It has no governmental interest. It does not tailor itself to meet a government interest. All it is simply doing is, like I said, rigging the electorate. Most people with gun permits, I'm pretty sure you survey them, 97% of them are Republican. And in Texas, the gun permit, you can immediately go to vote. But if you have a state ID from Texas, You have to be registered 30 days before an election. The rules are not uniform. It doesn't protect the integrity of elections. All it is simply trying to do is scale down the electorate so that Republican candidates can win. Cutting back early voting days while also maintaining smaller, more limited hours, such as Secretary of State Husted in Ohio, and even one of the other GOP individuals said that voting should not accommodate the urban turnout. So if anybody thinks I'm keeping racism alive, it's very well without me. It's doing very well without me. If anybody believes that I'm an alarmist right now, I kept telling people that voter ID is simply a Republican tool, and it's got American Legislative Exchange Council written all over it. And I can't believe that my colleague, Kitty Lambert-Rudd, I love her, but I passionately disagree with her on this. I passionately disagree with you on this. It is not about the ID. The ID part is easy until they start closing DMVs in Democratic-leaning areas. The ID part comparatively is easy, but it's the voting part that they want to suppress. It is voter suppression. So if you or anyone can come up with a rational explanation for this, for scaling back voting hours in progressive or Democratic-leaning areas, like closing 10 of them in Wisconsin in the cities alone. 10. And forcing them out to an area where it's predominantly traffic, private traffic. Please tell me how that protects the integrity of elections. I'm sure the comments will be attacking me, but if you're attacking me, then you have no argument. Go ahead and attack me all you want. It cannot and does not lengthen the intensity of the voter suppression that is going on all across this country. And in 41 states, they have proposed legislation for such. And like that guy said, when the electorate's smaller, they have a chance. Since 2010, the electorate was much smaller, and that is the only reason that the Republicans swept so many legislatures, because so many people did not know that they had to come out and vote for the House, and that's how the Republicans took it. So don't tell me I'm an alarmist, don't tell me I'm a racist, because not only does it affect the black vote, it also affects elderly people who haven't driven in years, out-of-state college students, out-of-state residents who moved into a state. So this voter fraud that you're talking about is voter ID. And all of this stuff that the GOP has placed with Alex' seal of approval on it. Make my day. Give me a rational argument. Give me one. One. I submit that you cannot, because there is no rational argument for this. Good day, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter.